Before I died, I made Adrian Chen promise me one thing. Throw my body into the river and don't put a single thing on me. But Adrian has always been too soft-hearted. He wrapped me in a thick, bright, floral winter coat, and even slipped his family's ancestral jade bracelet onto my wrist before letting me sink beneath the water. 5 years later, when a catastrophic flood struck, a white dragon burst from the river, still wearing that ridiculous flowery coat, and saved the entire village. And Adrian, now a high-ranking official, went utterly white, as if the dead girl he once dressed had come back for him. Chapter 1. I died in the 12th month of the 4th year of the Jinan era. It was snowing, but in truth, I had started planning my death 3 months earlier. At first, I wanted to fake choking to death, so I asked Adrian to buy me candied fruits. After eating 18 packets, my face turned purple-red, and I looked like I couldn't breathe. I thought the plan was perfect, until Adrian rushed behind me, wrapped his arms around me, placed his fist under my ribs, and thrust upward several times. With a sharp plop, the date pit shot out of my mouth. I didn't manage to die, but I nearly got strangled by Adrian's bear hug. He held me so tightly that my eyes rolled back, and I really thought, if the date pit didn't kill me, his damn bear hug almost did. He held me in his arms, patting my back, murmuring, "Don't be scared, don't be scared," as if he were soothing a child. The moment the pit came out, he was more terrified than I was. His eyes were red. I originally wanted to crack a joke, but seeing how shaken he looked, I suddenly didn't dare. He apologized again and again, said he shouldn't have bought the candied fruits, and even handed me his family's heirloom jade bracelet. The villagers said Adrian's ancestors were once wealthy. That bracelet was extremely valuable. I agreed. It was crystal clear. If I took it to the deep sea, I could probably sell it for a fortune. Feeling guilty, I silently crossed choking to death off my list. After all, Adrian knew first aid, so I changed the plan to dying from illness. One day, I started coughing. There was blood on my handkerchief. Of course, it wasn't real blood. I had plucked a few strands of hair from the blood coral sprite, ground them into powder, mixed in some water, and created something that looked exactly like blood. The blood coral sprite ran away clutching his bald head, saying he would go complain to my father. But really, it was my father who told me to go back to the sea immediately. I wasn't satisfied with the first batch of fake blood, so I hid the stained handkerchiefs under my pillow. One day, Adrian found them. He held a handkerchief in a trembling hand and asked, voice filled with pain, "Sophie, what happened?" I felt guilty and stayed silent. In Adrian's eyes, that only made me look weaker. He pulled me into his arms and said hoarsely, "I've been too focused on studying for the imperial exam. I neglected your health. From today on, I'll take care of everything." The next day, I didn't have to cook anymore. Not that I cooked before. I usually went to the seaside, shouted for the snail spirits, ocean spirits who could turn into human men, and they would spring out of the waves, transform into nanny-like men, and go home to clean the house and cook a full table of dishes. Adrian had no idea. He always thought I kept the house so tidy. Now I didn't even need to walk to the ocean. I rubbed my gradually rounder belly, and all motivation for exercise disappeared. Meanwhile, Adrian stood in the kitchen, facing firewood, rice, oil, and salt. He soon realized it was far more exhausting than reading his Confucian texts. Sometimes he would look at me with heartache and say, "Sophie, I never knew you did so much. You've worked so hard." I broke out in a guilty sweat. He then handed me a bowl of tonic soup. "You see, you're sweating from weakness." But no matter how carefully Adrian took care of me, my cough only got worse. He invited many physicians. None could diagnose my illness. Of course not. I was faking it. I learned a wonderful term from humans, lying flat, which basically means doing nothing at all. So I lay in bed all day, waiting for food to arrive. Wrapped tightly in blankets, I didn't dare let Adrian see that under the covers I was secretly getting fatter. Seeing me curled up like a tiny quail every day made Adrian's heart ache more and more. I slept every day, but it wasn't on purpose, because at night I had to go to the sea to meet my father. He had already given me 48 final warnings. "If you don't come back, I swear, I'll give all the pearls in your room to other little dragons." Every night I had to coax him. "I'm coming back soon. I swear, really." After serving him until he was satisfied, I would sneak home again. Naturally, I needed to catch up on sleep during the day. Adrian didn't know. He only saw me lying unconscious day after day, and his brows furrowed deeper and deeper. Sometimes, half asleep, I sensed someone sitting by the bed. Adrian's low voice drifted to me, unclear but full of sorrow. "Sophie, I'm sorry. I can't give you a good life yet. I'm not worthy, not yet. After the imperial exam, wait for me. Hold on, I'll come back in glory." He tucked the blanket around me gently and left. I was unaware of all this. But when my father, in a fit of anger, gave away one of my 987 hidden gold coins to a seahorse sprite, I panicked. One afternoon, after Adrian finished cooking and went to the academy, I called the snail spirit to bring me snacks. But Adrian unexpectedly returned early. Before I could finish my pumpkin soup, he opened the door. I tried to run back to bed, but my skirt tangled under my feet, and I fell face first onto the floor, yet I managed to keep the bowl steady. Guiltily, I held it up and stammered, "Pumpkin soup, it's sweet, try some." In Adrian's eyes, I, weak, staggering, sick, had dragged my frail body to make him soup. His brows knotted deeply. He rushed over and supported me, eyes pained. "Sophie, why are you so foolish? You're still sick." At the perfect moment, I let a blotch of blood trickle from my lips. "I know I'm dying. You don't have to feel hurt." Wearing the jade bracelet he gave me, I recited my prepared lines through trembling tears. "When I'm gone, throw my body into the Anjan River. Remember, don't put any clothes on me. I came to this world with nothing, and I will leave with nothing." Adrian tried to interrupt, horrified, but I simply tilted my head, closed all my senses, and fainted. Naturally, I didn't hear his cry of agony or feel his tears fall onto my corpse. 7 days later, I woke up at the bottom of the Anjan River. I wanted to go ashore to take a look, but I was afraid of being seen. I had lived there for 7 or 8 years. The villagers all recognized me. Years ago, after fighting with my father, I ran away from the Dragon Palace, the underwater royal court where my father ruled, wandered along the river, and lay down to rest. Adrian happened to pass by and fished me out. He and the villagers had cared for me for years. They were so kind to me. I couldn't bear to pop back up from the dead and scare them, but even dragons can't predict everything. I stayed under the sea for 5 years until the 9th year of the Jinan era. The Anjan River churned wildly. Floodwaters roared across the land. Rain fell for 7 days. The upper banks collapsed. Fields and houses were destroyed. A snail maiden rushed into the dragon palace, face pale. "Princess, terrible news! Your favorite rice fields were washed away." During the years I spent among humans, I had fallen in love with eating rice. Even after returning home, I remained a devoted rice-eating dragon. So the snail maidens went to steal rice every year. The villagers never understood why a portion of grain disappeared every year, only to be replaced by piles of fish. When I heard people crying along the river, my heart tightened. I recognized many of them. David Tian, the neighbor, whose wife once sewed clothes for me, was weeping with his wife. Their youngest child had been swept away. I couldn't stand it. I burst out of the water and blew dragon breath to weaken the floodwaters. Then I returned to my true form and flew over the river, grabbing people one by one like a giant claw machine, dropping them onto soft patches of shore. I was a noble white dragon of the sea. My father was the Dragon King. Everyone who'd seen me in the ocean said I was breathtaking, too beautiful to be real. Now I had saved an entire village. This would go down in Dragon Palace history. At least 8,000 words were required to properly praise my heroism. I must have been an impressive sight. The villagers stared up at me, stunned. I basked in the moment, until a child I had just rescued tugged on David Tian's sleeve and asked loudly, "Dad, why is the dragon wearing a flowery coat?" I stumbled mid-air and almost fell out of the sky. Looking down, I felt thunderstruck. I had forgotten I was still wearing a thick, floral winter coat. And on my right claw, the jade bracelet gleamed brightly. "Dad, is this dragon someone's pet? Why does it have a bracelet on?" David Tian blinked, confused. "This coat? It looks a bit like Adrian's sewing." The familiar name rang in my ears. I followed the voice and suddenly met a pair of eyes. A man stood on the muddy bank, drenched, robes stained, clearly exhausted from rescuing people with ropes. "Thank you, Governor Chen. Bless you." The rescued villagers bowed to him. His face, despite the mud and rain, was striking. Clean lines, bright eyes, now fixed on me with a complex, stormy expression. Officials whispered excitedly around him. Governor Chen, a divine dragon has appeared to save us. Yes, not a single life lost. Of course, the princess has always favored the governor. Truly blessed by the spirits. The moment you arrived, Governor, the flood began to turn. Their chatter continued, but Adrian heard nothing. He only stared at me. High above the river, water flowing beneath me, everything fell strangely silent. I avoided his gaze and turned to fly toward the sea. Just as I moved, splash! Adrian jumped into the river. Governor! People screamed. My heart lurched. Adrian couldn't swim well. He always rescued people from the shore using ropes. Without thinking, I dove into the raging water. The riverbed was full of weeds, mud swirling everywhere, visibility near zero. My dragon body got tangled in the grass, so I transformed into human form and searched desperately. Finally, I found him. Adrian floated unconscious in the depths. I grabbed him and pulled him upward. Suddenly, he opened his eyes and clasped my hand tightly. Underwater, I couldn't hear him, but I recognized his lip movements. Am I dreaming? Is it really you? Sophie, I missed you so much. Panicked, I knocked Adrian out and dragged him to shore. Then I looked down at the ridiculous flowery coat I was wearing and wondered who I should blame most. Before I died, I told Adrian, throw my body into the river. Do not dress me. But Adrian couldn't bear it. He dressed me in this giant, gaudy coat. No wonder David Tian recognized it. This coat was very unique, because Adrian had sewn it himself, and his sewing skills were atrocious. Once, I had jokingly said that wearing flowery shorts in the water would make me the brightest dragon in the sea. Adrian promised he'd make me a flowery skirt the next summer. Who knew I would drop dead before winter ended? I didn't know how he managed to make this coat within 7 days, but remembering how he cared for me, I couldn't bring myself to take it off. So now, I was a majestic white dragon, wearing a ridiculous homemade padded coat. I hid the coat as best I could and sneaked toward Adrian's residence. Along the way, I overheard people saying he'd ranked first in the imperial exam years ago, become a top scholar, risen in rank, and was now wealthy. This year, because of the flood, he had been appointed governor and sent to manage the disaster. I placed the unconscious Adrian onto his bed and was just about to leave when I realized, even while unconscious, he refused to let go of my hand. I tugged, pulled, tried to pry his fingers off. Nothing worked. Finally exhausted, I sat by the bed and coaxed him softly. Don't pull me. I'll be right back. I'm only stepping out for a moment. Maybe my coaxing reached him. He relaxed his grip. Smiling in relief, I slipped out the door, only to have it burst open as a beautiful woman rushed in. Adrian? Behind her, a tall, handsome young man hurried to keep up. Princess Arya, please slow down. Princess Arya Ming rushed to Adrian's bedside, eyes brimming with tears. I heard someone rescued Adrian. I came as fast as I could. Then she turned to me gratefully. You saved him? I'm Princess Arya. Your bravery will be rewarded. At the word reward, my dragon ears perked up. Dragons love gold and jewels. My feet rooted to the floor. I bowed eagerly. Thank you, Princess Arya. May I ask where I should collect the reward? Her expression froze a moment. The tall, refined young man behind her stepped in smoothly. Her Highness's gifts are still on the way. They should arrive in about 3 days. There will be glass hairpins, red agate, jade ornaments. He listed item after item. I swallowed each time. I didn't stay for the reward, I said quickly. It's just that Princess Arya is so charming. Even if it means receiving gold and jewels for your sake, I'm willing. If your Highness needs anything, I'd climb mountains of knives, walk through seas of fire. I'd go through fire for you, not a single complaint. As for Adrian, if he woke up, I'd just knock him out again. Princess Arya arranged a room for me, the savior of the governor, and even rewarded me with some of the jewelry she carried with her. We were both princesses, but our fates were nothing alike. In the Dragon Palace, I was my father's only daughter. But he was a dragon. He guarded his treasures like his own eyes. Unlike human princesses, they got whatever they wanted. A maid set down a glowing night pearl, smiling as she said, You saved Governor Chen. Naturally, you're also a great benefactor of Her Highness. My eyes rolled thoughtfully. So, does the princess get along very well with Adrian? I mean, with the governor? The maid covered her mouth and giggled. 4 years ago, the governor placed first in the imperial exam. He rode into the capital city on a tall horse. The whole city was full of fluttering sleeves, countless girls admiring Lord Chen. It's perfectly normal for the princess to admire him too, isn't it? I thought of Adrian's face underwater, eyes closed, still so handsome even at the bottom of the river. I nodded in deep agreement. So, when are they planning to marry? A single man, a single woman. Sounds like a perfect match, doesn't it? The maid's expression changed. She quickly stepped back and bowed. Greetings, Lord Liu. I turned my head. It was the man who followed Princess Arya earlier. Lucas Liu inclined his head slightly. The maid hurried out. Miss Song, he asked politely, is there anything you lack? Her Highness sent me to check on you. I shook my head and exchanged a few polite, lukewarm words with him. He replied gracefully to each one. This year's floods on the Anjiang River are terrible, I sighed. Very dangerous. I didn't expect Her Highness to come in person. Lucas fell silent, turning his head slightly. After a long pause, he said slowly, Her Highness actually followed the governor here. Thinking of Adrian, my heart softened. This is where he grew up. He volunteered to come manage the flood. He truly hasn't forgotten his home. Lucas gave a small smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. What is it? Is there more to the story? He gave me a long, searching look, then shook his head and walked away without another word. Fortunately, I had plenty of connections. With a few bags of sunflower seeds, I went straight to the tea house. In just a few casual questions, I coaxed the truth out of the storyteller and the gossiping villagers. Think about it, girl, the storyteller said. This year's flood is unusually bad. No one wants to touch the Anjiang River. It's a hot potato. Governor Chen was transferred from the capital to this flooded place. If he fixes it, fine. If he fails, he'll be blamed. And besides, another added, the governor has no experience with flood control at all. As soon as they said it, I understood. I leaned forward, anxious. Then who sent him here? The storyteller shook his head and gave me a slow, meaningful look. Oh dear, I'm a little thirsty. I hurried to pour him tea. He took his time drinking a few sips. Seems you don't keep up with capital gossip, little girl. Of course, the governor ended up here because he angered Princess Arya. 3 months ago, he refused a marriage decree, and the bride was Her Highness. The princess was heartbroken. The emperor was displeased. So with one edict, the governor's life became very difficult. He was sent to deal with this dangerous flood as punishment. The storyteller shook his head and glanced toward the window. It'll rain heavily again tonight. The governor had divine help today. Who knows if he'll be that lucky again? Everyone around him sighed. Governor Chen is a good official. What a pity. What a pity. Just then someone rushed into the tea house, shouting, Good news. Governor Chen has woken up. I tiptoed into Adrian's room. It was empty. I let out a breath of relief. He was probably busy with official duties and had been called away. I went back to my room. Inside, it was completely dark. I had just closed the door and reached for the lamp when a cool voice spoke behind me. Didn't you say you were only going out for a little while? That you'd be right back? Adrian stepped out from the shadows, one slow stride after another. In the flickering lamplight, half his face was in shadow, his eyelids lowered. Guiltily, I said, Well, it was a little while. You heard that, huh? 3 hours, Adrian said coldly. I waited 3 hours. I scratched my head. The jade bracelet on my wrist flashed in the light. Adrian strode forward, grabbed my hand, and lifted my wrist, forcing me to look at the bracelet. Do you know what these 5 years have been like for me while you were gone? Do you really not understand why I gave you this bracelet? Then why did you accept it? His voice was icy, but if you listened closely, it trembled. You didn't die. You lied to me. You're not human. I twisted the hem of my coat and didn't dare meet his eyes. I'm not human, I whispered. So, are you going to take me away? Adrian froze, as if something had just clicked in his mind. He had once pulled me out of the river. Back then, he'd asked me where I'd come from. I could barely string human words together. It was my first time on land. I couldn't speak properly. I mimicked his accent, and everything I said sounded wrong. Adrian was only 14 then, still a little boy. He frowned. You're not some drowned ghost from the river, are you? I instinctively shrank back, stammering. Are you going to take me away? Adrian's eyes went round. He burst out laughing, doubling over. I'm just teasing you. Forget it. You can't even talk properly. Come on, come with me. Now at last, Adrian realized that I truly wasn't human. When he saw me back away, he tried to grab my shoulder. I shook him off. My neckline slipped, revealing my bare, rounded shoulder. Adrian jerked his gaze away as if shocked by a jolt of lightning. He coughed, awkward. I'm not going to take you away. You forget, we've been together so many years. I jumped in cheerfully. Yes, yes, we're family. I'm your little sister. Back when he fished me out of the river, Adrian's parents had already passed away. He'd been raised by the whole village, eating a bite here and there at different homes. By the time he found me that year, he could already farm the fields and teach children to read, earning a few coins here and there. He said he had no siblings, so he'd be my big brother and give me a place to belong. Once I went up the mountain with village girls to pick mushrooms. We got lost. By the time darkness fell, we still couldn't find our way back. I squatted under a tree, helpless, until at midnight, under the cold moon, I saw a stumbling figure coming toward me. 16-year-old Adrian pulled me into a tight embrace, stroking my hair, telling me not to be afraid. He looked exhausted. His clothes were scratched bloody by branches and thorns. I clung to him, calling Adrian, big brother. He said we were family. No matter where I went, he would always find me. But now, Adrian's face was far from gentle. He lowered his eyes and said nothing. It's late, he said quietly. You should sleep. I'll talk to you tomorrow. He opened the door, then suddenly paused, turned and looked straight at me. You'll still be here, right? I could only nod. Under his suspicious gaze, I added firmly, I promise. That night, the rain came pouring down again. Chapter 2. I had already fallen asleep when the chaos outside woke me. It's starting again. Go call everyone. Have the villagers been moved to safety? Forget the fields and property for now. People come first. Orders rang out one after another. Officials rushed through the darkness. Thunder crashed overhead. Rain poured down as if several years' worth of storms had all arrived tonight. Outside, no one had a dry patch on them. Rain cloaks were useless. I heard someone say that Adrian had gone to the embankment again. A prickle of unease ran through me. I hurriedly threw on my cloak and ran out to find him. I spotted him at the riverbank, standing on high ground, watching the water level rise inch by inch. I was just about to wave when a slim, butterfly-like figure rushed toward him. Adrian, the rain is too heavy. Please come back. Princess Aria's anxious shout was almost swallowed by the storm. Her voice was so weak in the wind and rain that Adrian didn't hear her at all. She clenched her teeth and stepped onto the embankment herself, inch by inch moving toward him. Behind her, Lucas was frantic. Your Highness, please, it's dangerous. Please come back. Let me warn the governor instead. Princess Aria brushed his hand aside, stubborn. He'll only listen if I go. You'll never pull him away. The rain was truly overwhelming. Puddles formed everywhere on the flat top of the dike. Moss that had been growing there for years was slick under the downpour. Suddenly, lightning split the sky. Thunder exploded so loudly that the ground seemed to shake. Startled by the crash, Princess Aria slipped and fell from the narrow embankment into the raging river. Adrian spun around just in time to see her vanish into the flood. His face changed instantly, but someone moved even faster than he did. Lucas didn't hesitate for even a breath. He leaped straight into the Anjang River and grabbed Princess Aria's hand. They were swept under together, but he never let go. Thankfully, a quick-thinking official threw them a rope. They managed to drag Lucas back to shore. Princess Aria clearly couldn't swim. Even in that brief time, she had swallowed a lot of water. She coughed and trembled uncontrollably. Lucas was soaked and disheveled, but his whole attention was on her. He rubbed her back gently, speaking softly. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Princess Aria coughed, tears streaming down her face, mixing with the rain. She buried herself in his arms. Lucas, I was so scared. Lucas. Adrian finally pushed his way through the circle of people around her. He didn't step forward. He only stood there in the rain, eyes downcast, watching her. Your Highness, the governor is here, someone whispered to her. Lucas stiffened. He looked up at Adrian and tried to rise, to give up his place. But Princess Aria, like a frightened little animal, grabbed his sleeve and refused to let go, crying out, Lucas, I'm scared. Adrian gave a small nod and silently stepped back, leaving the circle. He noticed me standing under a tree and called out hoarsely, Sophie, Come here. There's lightning. Don't stand under the tree. He pulled my rain cloak straight, tying it properly for me, then took my hand. Are you scared? The rain came down in sheets, but his eyes were steady and serious. The only solid thing in a world washed by water. He led me toward the riverbank, resuming his work. Officials rushed around us, delivering reports, awaiting his orders. He listened, gave instructions, and never once let go of my hand. I sensed something, and turned to look back. Lucas was carrying Princess Arya in his arms as they headed back. She was looking toward us. She saw our hands, clasped tightly together. I couldn't read the emotion in her eyes. By dawn, the rain finally stopped. Princess Arya, shaken by the ordeal, came down with a high fever and slept for a full day and night. Lucas never left her bedside. Every time she woke, she called for Lucas, to everyone's surprise. After all, rumors in the capital said that Princess Arya had always pined for Adrian. Adrian hired the best physicians to treat her, but he never visited in person. Still, I felt he was burdened with thoughts. More than once I saw him pace to her door, only to hear her laughing softly with Lucas inside and then turn away. He passed her door 3 times, yet never went in. Something twisted inside my chest. I wasn't sure what it was. Adrian remained busy. Relief work, resettling villagers, repairs, river management. He had a hand in everything. Yet every night, no matter how late he returned, he would still come by my room, as if to make sure I was really still there. The princess's promised treasure hadn't arrived yet, so of course I couldn't leave. That's what I told myself. One morning, a carriage from the princess's residence in the capital raced down the main road. Chests of gold and silver clanged together inside. Princess Arya summoned me. Her fever had broken. Her rewards had arrived. Lucas and Adrian were both absent. She had dismissed the maids as well. She sat alone, waiting for me in the courtyard. She was just recovering, still a little pale, looking delicate as a willow in the wind. When she saw me, she smiled softly. All your rewards have arrived, not just the ones Lucas promised, but a few extra gifts for you as well. I bowed in thanks. When I lifted my head, I saw something hesitant in her eyes. If your highness has something to say, I offered, please don't hold back. I'd heard enough human stories to know this was usually the part where someone said, I'll give you 10,000 silver taels. Leave Adrian. Princess Arya smiled faintly, like a peony blooming in full grace. I suddenly thought of Lucas. He was like clear moonlight and fresh breeze, gentle, composed. Such a calm person always seemed to end up beside a blazing, colorful princess. Princess Arya spoke quietly, and my back went stiff. Adrian likes you, she said. I can see it. I was struck speechless. She looked away from me and toward the room behind me, Adrian's quarters. He placed your room right next to his, but very far from mine. He hates trouble more than anyone, yet that day he held your hand and refused to let go, insisting that you stand there with him. Sophie, I'm sure you've heard stories about me. You probably know what people say about me and him. Princess Arya left, but I stayed where I was. I hadn't expected things between her and Adrian to be even more complicated than I'd imagined. The hesitation in her words made me decide to go find Adrian. I gathered my courage. I was going to ask him directly. I waited for him. At last, I saw him walking side by side with Lucas. I had just taken a step toward them when I heard them arguing. I froze, then slipped out of their line of sight and hid behind a rockery. You still don't understand how Her Highness feels about you? Adrian flicked his sleeve, his voice cold and sharp. Lucas, think carefully. Don't do something you'll regret for the rest of your life. Compared to Adrian in his plain blue robes, Lucas looked tortured. Of course I understand, he said quietly. But I'm not worthy. Adrian stared at him. You didn't even think before you jumped in after her? You still don't understand your own heart? You're willing to risk your life for her. So why are you so cowardly about everything else? Lucas's eyes dimmed. To ordinary people, I look like I'm doing well, he said. But I'm just an adopted son the Liu family picked up. I was lucky to earn a bit of rank. My status is low. She's a princess. We're worlds apart. I know my place. Adrian seemed to remember something. He drifted off for a moment. After a long silence, he said quietly, I'll help you. When Lucas left, Adrian stayed where he was. Then he spoke. Come out. I froze. Looked left, looked right. No one stepped forward. I mean you, he added. Adrian stood with his hands clasped behind his back, robes fluttering. In the end, he lost patience and came around the rockery to drag me out. Still pretending, I put on my most innocent face. I don't know what you're talking about. How long have you been eavesdropping? Adrian asked calmly. Fine, but how did you know? Adrian only smiled. I frowned, suddenly realizing something was wrong. I smell strange, don't I? Adrian let out a short, cold laugh. Thanks to that incense, I knew you were here right away. He had burned a special incense in my room. With his sharp sense of smell, he could track me by scent. If you sneak off again, he added mildly, the dog I've trained can follow your scent and find you. I pouted, so he really had improved. I didn't hear that much, I said. I came to you for something serious. I thought of what Princess Arya had said. I had been ready to ask clearly, but after hearing Adrian and Lucas talk, everything suddenly felt pointless. Adrian had pushed Lucas so hard. Could he really be indifferent to the princess? Princess Arya had chased Adrian all the way here without caring about anything else. Of course, Adrian must have been moved. Maybe when he first refused the marriage decree, he truly didn't like her. But now, maybe he'd changed his mind. My chest suddenly felt tight, my eyes stung for no reason, probably just sand in the wind. Softly I said, I understand how you feel, I get it now. Princess Arya had said that once she finally understood her own heart, she realized she liked Lucas. All those years chasing Adrian had just been youthful foolishness. She didn't like Adrian anymore, but Adrian had come to like her. Wouldn't that hurt him? I must really see Adrian as family. Because right now I felt awful too. In Adrian's eyes, confusion flickered into doubt, then shock, then bright, wild joy. He reached out carefully, his hand trembling as he took my arm. You understand? He asked. I made up my mind. I would help Adrian win Princess Arya's heart. But the next second, I yelped, because Adrian suddenly scooped me up and spun me around in circles. I'm so happy, Sophie, he said hoarsely. You understand, you finally. His eyes were a little red. His voice shook with a disbelief that bordered on desperation. I never knew how to tell you. He lowered his head and brushed the hair from my forehead. Seeing him so overjoyed only made my heart sink further. I said, forcing a smile. I'll take you to see the princess. We'll make everything clear. Adrian blinked, then nodded quickly. Yes, of course. We really should speak with her. We headed toward Princess Arya's courtyard, one step behind the other. But as we neared the garden, I caught sight of a pair of figures and my heart dropped. I spun around and slapped my palms over Adrian's eyes. He turned at the same time, and in that brief, clumsy motion his lips brushed my brow, a cool, soft touch, like a feather-light kiss. His breath slid across my cheek, warm and tingling. My face burst into flames. My mind went blank. I froze there, but my hands stayed firmly clamped over his eyes. At some point, Adrian's arm had slid around my waist. He followed the line from my brow down to the bridge of my nose with his lips. Just as he was about to reach my mouth, my sense finally snapped back. I pressed a hand to his chest, voice shaking. No! Adrian halted instantly, stunned, like he didn't know what to do with his hands. I'm sorry, Sophie, he stammered. I got ahead of myself. I didn't catch the rest of what he said, because at that moment I heard Princess Arya's voice. Sophie! Adrian, you're here! Adrian pulled my hands down. Princess Arya's figure in the garden finally came into his view, along with Lucas's arm draped around her shoulders. The two of them stood close, like a pair of lovers. I rushed to calm Adrian, but he took a long stride forward. I hurried after him and watched him smile politely at Lucas. You really move fast, Adrian said lightly. I only just talked to you about confessing, and you've already gone and done it. A faint blush rose on Lucas's pale face. At his side, Princess Arya's cheeks were flushed like flowers. Adrian, you're not slow either, she said, lifting a brow. I just finished explaining things to Sophie, and the two of you are already so close. I pointed at Adrian, then at myself. Then I stared at Princess Arya in disbelief. What do you mean? Princess Arya's eyes widened. You two were just kissing. Lucas and I saw it clearly. Aren't you already together? She turned to Adrian. Adrian, you haven't told Sophie how you feel. Adrian also looked stunned. He stared at me. I thought you said you already knew. I thought you meant you liked the princess, I blurted. How would I like her? He shot back. I like you. Then what about what you said to Lucas? I was telling Lucas to hurry up and confess to the princess. It felt like lightning out of a clear sky. I had apparently gotten everything wrong. Earlier, when I went to see Princess Aria, she had hesitated for a long time before finally speaking. "Sophie," she said, "I'm sure you've heard stories about me and about my connection with him. But things aren't actually like that. I don't like Adrian." Only then, through her explanation, did I understand. She and Lucas had grown up together. She was bright and dazzling like a peony, yet she'd fallen for the quiet adopted son of the Liu family, Lucas, calm and clear as water. She had hinted at her feelings again and again, but Lucas never responded. When Adrian entered the capital as top scholar, Princess Aria, furious over Lucas, ran out into the street and threw flowers at Adrian, then deliberately pestered him, hoping to provoke Lucas. She hadn't expected the emperor to take it seriously. He assumed she liked Adrian and granted a marriage decree. Adrian refused the match, which angered the emperor. In a fit of temper, His Majesty sent Adrian to manage the floods. Princess Aria felt deeply guilty and chased Adrian here to apologize. Out of remorse, not love. No one knew why, but Lucas had also requested permission to come along. The more Princess Aria saw of him, the more irritated she became. The two of them were constantly at odds, until the moment she fell into the river, and Lucas threw himself in after her without a second thought. Only then did she realize he was not cold and heartless. Meanwhile, Adrian, spending time with Lucas, understood him in ways only one man could understand another. He dropped hints, subtle but pointed, until Lucas finally made up his mind. "Do you still not understand how Her Highness feels about you?" Adrian had said. "Lucas, don't do something you'll regret your whole life." "The princess doesn't like me," he was really saying. "She feels guilty. She only likes you. If you miss this chance, you'll regret it forever." Lucas had spoken his heart as well. He wasn't made of stone, but he felt unworthy of her to reach for her. "To ordinary people I seem well off," he'd said, "but I'm just an adopted son the Liu family picked up. I got some rank by luck. My status is low. She's a princess. I know we're worlds apart." Until Adrian said, "You were willing to risk your life for her. So why are you such a coward and everything else?" Adrian promised he would help Lucas rise in rank, help him win the right to marry her. After Lucas left Adrian, he went straight to Princess Aria to confess his feelings. I, not knowing any of this, had thought Adrian was threatening Lucas to stay away from her. I misunderstood. I thought Adrian liked the princess. So when I saw Princess Aria and Lucas leaning close together, I didn't want Adrian to see. I panicked and covered his eyes, and he took the chance to kiss me. When Adrian blurted out, "I like you," it felt unreal. I touched my own forehead, then reached out to touch his. "Did I hear that right? Did you say that right?" I had always thought Adrian saw me as a little sister. Now it felt like the sky was spinning. Fireworks burst in my chest. The sour ache disappeared in an instant. Adrian laughed helplessly at my expression and flicked my forehead. "I truly didn't expect you could be this slow," he said. He took my hand and pulled me away, probably because he didn't want to see Princess Aria and Lucas trying not to laugh themselves sick. I didn't notice at all that our fingers were interlaced now, that our shadows overlapped as we walked, one in front, one behind. Adrian led me out of the governor's residence and back to a familiar place. The Anjiang River. The little mud house. The home we'd once shared. Adrian looked at me, his gaze steady. "We lived here for so long," he said. "You made me pumpkin soup. I sewed you a skirt. What we had back then, that wasn't just family affection." He took my right hand in his. "Of course," he added gently. "You're a dragon girl. It's normal you didn't understand." He stroked the jade bracelet, his eyes soft. "Among humans, when a man gives a woman his ancestral jade bracelet, it means he hopes she'll become his wife, and that he'll protect her for the rest of his life." The bracelet was smooth and warm, catching the sunlight. Adrian met my eyes and asked quietly, "Back then, you didn't understand what it meant, so you accepted it. Now that you know, I want to ask you again. Will you become my wife?" My voice was as small as a mosquito. "I will." Adrian pulled me into his arms, holding me as if I were a priceless treasure. "Then," he murmured, "can we continue what was interrupted just now?" "What?" I asked blankly. "That kiss." Adrian cupped my face and kissed me. The rain had stopped long ago. The sunset burned half the sky red. Clouds glowed gold. I thought, hazily, What a beautiful evening.